So give me 2 minutes, sir.
Huh. So there is a query about this. I explain the line and staff authority, right? Uh, See, line people means they are the people who are uh, who are responsible for the main activity of the enterprise. Whereas staff authority means they are specialists in a particular area. And with regard to, let's say, for example, so as we have seen in the organization structure, that like with regard to certain issues, like for example, legal authority. Like see, like even in our NIT Varangal, there is a lot of issues of court cases, right? So where people we hire a lawyer, or there is a legal advisor in our uh, for our NIT Varangal. So he, like, because we are not supposed to be lawyers, right? Our director may not have the entire. He may not have a entire, what do you call, legal knowledge. So in that case, what he will do, he will refer the matters to the people like a registrar, or under registrar again there may be a legal advisor. So, and the connection here is again, who has to implement that? Only the line guy. Like for example, they are kind of specialists. Say for example, I'm mechanical. Like we have to purchase certain equipment. So unless uh, whereas we have a stores department, stores officer, deputy registrar, stores. So if we have to purchase the, what you call, equipment, we don't buy directly. So that authority, that functional authority, it will lies with the purchase department or stores department. All right. So, like for example, if we have to buy, say, table or chair from a department, we will put a note to the stores officer saying that we need this, and he has the requisite authority to buy materials for the. See, mechanical department is a line department, whereas a stores is a staff. Staff means normally they assist the main line department in achieving their goals, and they are specialist in one particular area. Staff people, like for example, like if in a production situation, say like all quality matters are referred, like you do production, but at the same time you are guided by quality control department, like what kind of quality norms you should follow, and what kind of, like for example, like if we have to implement ISO 9000, see there is a staff department, whereas line department is involved in the main activity of producing things. But whether those things are being produced in a, with the good quality, somebody should, there should be some kind of third party verification agency, or see quality control, quality assurance, all these are very big subjects now. A line guy may not have the full knowledge of the tools and techniques that are available under in quality. So he is guided by like this is the place you have to implement this particular technique or tool, like X bar and R chart, P chart, C chart. So those things, intricacies of a particular tool will be known to only the staff departments. Staff departments, most of them are, they have an advisory role, and to some extent they will be given some kind of authority also. So, but there are certain pure staff, that means only they have an advisory role, like legal advisor. He can't issue any orders. Issuing orders is the prerogative of the line department. So, whereas, see, that's why whenever you have to join an organization, if you are interested in going the higher up in the what you call organization, it is better to join as an executive in the line department, not staff consultant. See, for example, like a guy joining Tata Motors. Suppose if a computer science graduate joins Tata Motors, see, he will what do you call? He will only be a what do you call? A staff authority, staff function. He will only advise IT matters to the Tata Motors, but he can't think of becoming the chief executive of the Tata Motors, because it is a supportive department, not a main line department, right? So you can give some kind of functional authority to the staff people, like you say, like all purchase related things have to be uh, authorized by the stores department, right? So whereas in certain organizations, what happened is they have completely removed stores. The head of the department himself is authorized to buy items, because it again depends on, I told you, like the convenience of the, I call the organization. Say, I was telling now, like for example, if you take a roadside panwala, there is nothing like a line authority or functional authority. He is all rolled into one. He himself makes pans. He himself markets himself, saying that, sir, if you have no any contact, please tell about our pan. So he will market. He will do marketing. He will do production. He will do finance. Because at the end of the day, he will count how much money he has spent and how much money he got, and what is the profit for that day. How much he has to spend for the what do you call, buying items for the next day. What are the materials that are remaining, and what are the materials that he has to buy by going to the supermarket or wholesale market. So it is all roles rolled into only one single person, because the complexity of the task is very simple. But the moment you become bigger, you need a lot of staff specialists, because the organization is very complex now. Like if you take BHEL department, like industrial engineering, the staff department itself is a big. It looks like a big organization. Engineering department, quality control department. Apart from the main line departments like the production division of producing turbines, generators, boilers. So those who produce turbines, boilers, and generators, they are in the main line, and supporting them is the staff departments like industrial engineering, quality control, who are specialized to give advice on a specific skill or knowledge. They have a they are known for knowing certain specialized knowledge. This is the main task. Like what kind of quality control procedures one should evolve for a new component or a product. What kind of quality control assurance techniques we should establish so that, like for example, if you have to implement, say suppose you one is interested in implementing Six Sigma quality control procedures. See, it is not in the hands of the production engineer. He has to take the assistance of a quality control expert or industrial engineering expert to implement that quality control systems. Either what people do now, either they hire a consultant do that, or they may ask the in-house quality control specialists like industrial engineering people or quality control department to go with that. So there is a so that is the difference between line and staff authority. So staff authority means sometimes you may staff people have only pure advisory role. In that case, they don't have authority. They can only advise. Implementing a particular recommendation of staff people lies in the domain of line department. So not all the organizations will give functional authority to the staff department. Right? So there is a bit of convenience. It is a bit of convenience, like how much authority you can give to the staff people and how much authority, whether to give authority to the staff department or not. Okay. So that is it is a bit complex, like for example, in certain cases, industrial engineering department is given only advisory role. In that case, he can't issue orders to workers because some people might strictly follow what is so called unity of command. Suppose if you are giving staff authority to industrial engineering, that means the workers in the line department have to listen to the both his immediate boss as well as the staff authority boss in the form of industrial engineering. So there are no hard and fast rules like how you manage things. If you think that industrial engineering is a very important domain and which will be useful for achieving your organizational goals, maybe you will give functional authority to them or staff authority. Okay, am I clear?
Yes, sir.
So now let me share my screen. So this is where we have left yesterday. Say we were looking at different types of organ structures. So line type or military type, this is called as. This is the first kind of. This is the initial type of organ structure people used to follow. But as the complexity of the organizations started becoming bigger and bigger, because now most of the companies they need specialists. So there's no provision specialist. Like for example, if you take a manager shop floor or the deputy manager, assistant manager, there are no specialists here who can assist the. These are the pure line people. There are no specialists like the supervisor or assistant manager. He has to look after aspects of HR. All right, he himself is a HR man. He will do, even though there is a vice president HR, but certain HR practices like shop disciplinary, then maintenance, quality control, all these industrial engineering, like here, the supervisor should be jack of all. Assistant managers, there is no staffs specialists here. So because of that deficit only, our Frederick Winslow Taylor came with this specialist in the form of foreman. Each foreman is specialized in one particular aspect of organization. Like for example, route clerk is good in process planning. This man, instruction clerk, is good in recommending the detailed steps of releasing a particular component, like how much is feed, speed, depth of cut. In if it is case of a lathe, then he is the industrial engineering guy, time clerk, because he will estimate the what is the standard time a worker should take to complete a task. And the shop disciplinarian is the one who will decide like how much incentives uh, a worker is eligible based on his performance, his quality, and how disciplined he is guy that guy is. And then here gang boss is good at implementing the instructions of clerk. Similarly, a repair boss is a very good specialist in repairing all the production machinery. Then speed boss is a counter to instruction clerk who will just see like whether all the workers are following the recommendations of the instruction clerk or if they are deviating from the standard procedures. And then inspector boss, he will do the quality control or quality aspects of the like whether they are producing as per the quality requirement. So here with this functional type of organ structure, Taylor could accommodate specialists into the organization, but only the problem is he ended up keeping 8 bosses for each of these workers who are at the bottom. So that has created a lot of nuisance in most of the organizations because the workers got confused like who is the real boss for them, right? Because like anyway, super boss is in the form of production manager, but he can't directly talk to production manager. And sometimes gang boss and root clerk, they used to give conflicting kind of instruction to the workers. In that case, the worker is wondering like to whom whether gang boss is important or root clerk. And if the worker is a very smart guy, he can create friction between root clerk and gang boss and escape work. So, so that's why seeing this what you call weakness of this organ structure, people have come up with this line and stuff. So here, this is a like here we can see that legal advisor is a staff authority, staff department. He will only he is not worried about day-to-day production of the organization. In case vice president has some issue, like he wants some kind of legal, like a legal issue, like for example, like he is asking a loan from a bank, and he wants to like how to write the uh, promissory note or uh, what kind of wording one should use while mortgage of assets, and what are the what do you call jurisdiction in which court, like for example which court, so all these legal aspects will be given to all these. Suppose a vice president production has found that a particular supervisor has to be dismissed. So when you are dismissing an employee, people have to properly word it, and for that they may take the advice of a legal advisor. So all see because litigation is legal litigation is one of the greatest nuisance value. So most of the time, either company secretary or legal advisor, they will be advising the president. So whereas president has a direct authority on this legal advisor, and it is left to the president whether to listen, where to listen. Sometimes the president might have some kind of constraints whether to listen to exactly what legal advisor is saying. So there is a so that's why the relation between, see, vice president doesn't report to legal advisor. That's why it is a dotted line. Whereas vice president finance, vice president production, vice president sales, they are the they are the subordinates of president. Similarly, production supervisor, they are subordinates of production. And here, vice president sales, he can't issue any instructions directly from sales to production supervisor. He can only talk to vice president production regarding his requirement, but he can't directly say like, you produce this, you produce that, we need in the market. If at all something has to be conveyed to production supervisor what to produce, that is directed through his counterpart in production. So here, this is a loose, like for example, sometimes production supervisor might ask some clarification from vice president. Sir, you have asked for this kind of modification in the product. What is it? Or sometimes production supervisor would not like to listen to this guy, or he will ask his immediate boss, sir, I have an issue with regarding the product specifications. Can you get back to vice president sales? What is the issue there? So here, dotted line indicates that he can have a bit of staff authority. Like he can give some clarifications. But when it comes to who is the boss and who is the subordinate, there is a clarity between vice president production and production supervisor. No, but like production supervisor, when it comes to boss, production supervisor, he doesn't report to vice president sales. Why the role of vice president comes only in the case of when he says like this production supervisor might ask, sir, to whom we have to dispatch the product, how to dispatch, something like that. But like when it comes to, see, writing annual confidential reports, only this man has the right to write the confidential reports for production supervisor, not the vice president sales. So because it is only a staff authority, right?
Sir,
Because he is
one
specialist.
clarification.
Ah,
Sir, what you are saying is staff authority actually don't have a complete like fixed authority, but
yes.
they also don't have any responsibility. Like if legal advisor says to something like vice president production that what you are doing is not according to the standards of some
Ah,
product,
mm,
there may be some legal issues or something. He will give
mm,
advice. He can't order him. He will give advice. But
ah,
if he says I won't follow, he will report it to the president, right?
ah,
That's how it goes.
yes. See, that's why. Uh, See, whenever an issue comes, like see, they can't by themselves. They can't pass over the line people, because see, basically they want to avoid multiple bossing, and that's why actually sometimes most of the time people will not join staff departments. They want always a line one, because there is no, what you call, as you said, they have most of the time around 90% of the time they act as a advisors only. So they advise whether to listen to that advice or not. It lies with the line man, line people. So most of the time they listen, but there are at times where you have to give some exceptions. So in that case, the line people will say, okay, sir, in these exceptions, we will go forward like this. Say, for example, whenever exceptions have to be given, it is the president who will give the exceptions. Okay? See, they themselves cannot take any exceptions. See, legal advisor might have told Vice President of Finance, like, you should mortgage only this particular asset, not the other asset. So in that case, President, Vice President will say, like, he will escalate the matters to President, saying that, sir, if only that asset is available for mortgaging, we will not get the necessary amount of loan. So the President might give some exception based on the certain considerations. Maybe within, like, there is a bit of, there may be a bit of fuzzy kind of situations in which President can resolve the matters. Okay. So this is line and staff organization structure. So most of the 90% of the organizations in the world, they follow this. Whereas line type, pure line type is normally for anyway, no one follows functional type of organ structure. Whereas line type is normally followed in small scale industries because they don't need any specialists, so much specialists. And then, whereas 90% of the organizations, they follow line type of line and staff type of organ structures, whereas the matrix type is followed almost most of the MNCs, multinational companies who operate in multiple countries and multiple or within a country itself, they might have they're spread over across different industry verticals like L&T, ITC. See, ITC and L&T might follow matrix type because their presence is there in the different industry verticals. Like for example, if you take ITC, the major divisions of ITC is confectionaries, then um, tobacco, and then hospitality like ITC Sheraton, and then they have e-chopal, right? So there are, and there is a ITC finance also. So like this, and at the same time, like they have a they have divided themselves. Look, it looks like here we are deliberately violating the unity of command principle. We are knowingly violating here because certain times you need a functional specialist as well as product specialist simultaneously. You need the assistance of both of them, and they are both of them are part of line. So this is the normally norm you see in the matrix. Then if you take a network organization structure, see, in fact, like you, a firm, most of the software industries or computer and electronic firms, they follow this network organization structures. Like for example, there is a core firm. Like if you take core firm like Dell, see, they have call centers in Philippines, and then they have package design partner in UK, then assembly partner in Mexico because there the labor costs are very cheap, and then accounting partner. They might have outsourced their entire accounting to McKinsey or there are so many Price Water Coopers, the PWG, PWC, like so. There are Anderson Consulting and then Accenture. There are certain, and then product development maybe there in India for Dell. So Here, what you see, like it is an alliance of firms creating a product or service. Supporting firms behaved around a hub or a core firm. So here, core firm is a Dell, and here you see Dell is a virtual organization. Now, they don't have their own production facilities. They don't have in fact, like most of the electronic firms, uh, they like for example, Dell, if you put a toll free call to Dell, maybe the other guy may be answering from Vietnam, because the call center, maintaining a call center from Vietnam is very cheaper for them, or from India. In fact, like initially India was a very very convenient place, because most of the uh, most of the multinationals have set up their call centers in India, because here the labor is cheap, as well as most of the people know English. So like you, for a company like Dell, it is a kind of virtual organization. It doesn't. Similarly, Apple, you take Apple or GE. Say for example, if you take GE, product development, they have put it in Bangalore, one R&D center. Then the call center maybe in some other place. Package. So that means they have, wherever it is possible, they have outsourced the various functions of the organization. So it is a virtual organization. All right. So most of the US firms are operating in a network organization structure. Right. Now coming to our discussion, this is designer of structures. So here, what you see
One
here
doubt,
is that, huh?
sir, how is network organization different from line structure? Like here also there is one core is branch and sorry, core is a boss and it is divided.
See, here in network organization structure, most of the employees doesn't belong to you. Call center
So
employees
it's
doesn't belong to you.
outsourcing. It's
Huh?
outsourcing.
Yes, outsource.
Okay, sir. Okay.
See, whereas in the line and staff or matrix, they are all part of your employees. But here, most of them are, like, for example, TCS may have taken a subcontract on accounting. See how these Infosys and Accenture, all these people are surviving, because they are outsourcing firms for most of these Fortune 500 companies. They take one particular function like IT services. The entire IT services of Dell may be handled by TCS. Just like now, government of India is also following the same strategy. You know, there is a Nirmala Sitharaman is banging left and right our Infosys boss, saying that you are not maintaining the income tax web portal properly. So government, see, in fact, in future you see more of this kind of nature, where people see you have very few core employees of your own, and most of the services, wherever it is possible, you outsource it. Give them some mandate. How much? So in that way, like for example, Apple doesn't produce even a single component from. It doesn't have any manufacturing unit. Even assembly is taken care of whether in
In
Taiwan
China.
or, huh? Most of the assembly operations of iPhone, or they happen in China or Malaysia, one of the four Asian tigers. Taiwan, Hong Kong, Singapore. One of these, they do the assembly. So, in fact, Apple has outsourced most of its operations, and you have very less number of core employees. See, what they have kept for themselves is the R&D, R&D and software writing embedded code for there. And once they feel that they have finalized the component design and everything, they will outsource it to some Chinese company to do the chip. So that's why, like now, there is a tremendous shortage of chips, right? So anyway, so in future you see this kind of arrangement because now with thanks to internet, like you have instantaneous communication, 24 by 7 communication. Like uh, now the IT infrastructure has become so reliable that you can run most of your organizations anywhere in the world, right? And added to that, now our modern hero, Elon Musk, see, he started on Starlink. Like he's hosting around 40,000 satellites onto the uh, around Earth, which will give a continuous access of say 10 gigabit bandwidth, right? So things are changing. So now coming to design of organ structures. So here, like here are the how to design an organ structure for a company, whether whether you whether it is medium scale or large scale company. Like we follow. See, as I told you now, core idea in the design of organ structure is, have you appropriately divided the work? Whether you have divided the work logically and distributed that responsibility to different people, and have you established communication between these people, and have you given them clarity on their role? So these are all the things that are part of the design of organ structure. Say for example, as I told you, like, see, there is no issue of dividing work if the work is very simple in nature. Like roadside panwala fellow, see, it is a one man show. So he himself is a production engineer, finance guy, and then marketing guy, HR, everything all rolled into only one person because there is no need for a division of labor there. But as the origin increases, as the size of the activities increases, you have to appropriately divide the work. So that is what we do as a first step in the design of our structure. So grouping of activities or departmentation. So here, what we do in grouping of activities is, so we normally, there are different ways to divide work or grouping of activities. See, like there are people divide the work based on, say, for example, if you take our classical department, the oldest organization in the world, that is military. See, in military, they divide the or group the activity based on numbers. That means numbers means, for example, 30, 30 every 30 soldiers are they will have one single boss, that is second lieutenant. A group of second lieutenants are headed by lieutenant. A group of lieutenants are led by captain, then captain major. So you follow the numbers game there in military type of organization because there are no specialists here in military. Most of the like most of you take you take a medium small scale industry, they go by numbers only. You attach a few workers to a particular supervisor or foreman, and a few foremen they will be reporting to a particular manager. So like this, so you give appropriate designations. In military, we have second lieutenant workers at the bottom level, then the second lieutenant, captain, major, major general, and then a chief of army staff. And this chief of army staff has a boss in the form of our president of India, right? So here, so you can divide the work based on numbers, or you can divide the work based on time. Time means, like for example, if you take certain industries like which run 24/7, like a chemical plant, cement plant, or a steel industry, where they don't stop unless they stop it only once in a year for their annual maintenance schedule. So, but otherwise they have to. So when they when they when they group the activity based on time, like means night shift workers, day shift workers, night and day, or like a nighttime supervisor, daytime supervisor, shift wise they will have some kind of responsibilities. They group the activities. So anyway, at the see the boss, the president may not work based on time. Like there is no nighttime president and daytime president. There is only single president. But as they go down, they divide the work based on time, right? So it can be based on grouping of activities, maybe based on numbers, time, functions. Functions means like marketing, production, finance, HR, R&D, right? So if you take like if you take a function like production, that may be further divided, um, um, further divided as quality control, or it may be based on process, or lathe department, milling department, painting department. So production is further divided based on the see you divide the work till each of those quantum of work can be handled by a single person. That is the so division of labor is so you do division of labor based on either based on numbers, time, functions, and then say products like ITC does based on products, or Tata Motors does by products. Like you have a nano plant, then Tata Ace, then you have Indigo plant, then so they go by products. Then they can be process wise. So process means like a BHL, they may be following the process based approach. That means they have lathe department, milling department, assembly section. So, or see, these are not mutually exclusive. Like BHL might be following both these strategies, product as well as process. Say, for example, Tiruchirappalli division of BHL handles only boilers, whereas BHL Ramchandrapuram in Hyderabad handles turbines. So they have divided the, and whereas BHEL Bhopal handles only transmissions, handling transmission components like transformers and other related things, right? So here it can be products, process, then the other one is it can be based on customers, type of customers. What kind of customers? Like for example, banking people will follow based on this. If you take ICICI Bank, they have a division based on the type of customers they handle. Like for example, they have a separate division to handle high net worth individuals like Sachin Tendulkar or Virat Kohli kind of customers, where they have to handle them separately because their deposits and will run into hundreds of crores. So they set up a separate team for them to handle high net worth individuals like Virat Kohli, Dhoni, and kind of people, or some cinema actors, Akshay Kumar or Chiranjeevi, somebody, right? So banking people, for whereas they have one kind of ordinary banking division where they handle common people like us, and they have customers who are interested in buying insurance products from. So ICICI Bank has a ICICI Lombard, right, or ICICI Prudential, and then for and there is a separate division for handling industrial customers like who give loan to industrial customers like small scale industries and medium scale industries, some shipping companies. So ICICI banking people might follow departmentation or grouping of activities based on customers. Similarly, like based on distribution channels, like for example, distribution like Godrej. See, Godrej deals with so many uh, products, personal care, like hygiene, like one set of like for example, shampoos and other things are handled by one division, whereas soaps and other things are handled by some other division, right? Like then locks, Godrej locks, they are handled by another. So the based on the distribution issues, they may group the activities. So like this, there is no like let's say then companies like if you take IL&T, they divide they group the activity based on projects they handle, type of projects they handle. They have a separate division for handling defense projects. They have separate division for handling, say, metro related works. They have separate division for handling what is this? Uh, um, what is oil exploration, right? So that is how you divide the work, right? So you choose, like people will be choosing a combination of them. Like for example, if you take L&T, they have chosen like projects and products, projects and functions, a combination of them to divide the work or grouping of activities or departmentation. So how you divide work, that is left to the nature of the activities the companies will handle. All right. So that is about design of organization, like the first point. Second point is span of control. Span of control means it is the number of subordinates an executive can handle, a boss can handle. So this is normally in span of control. Normally at the top level, most of the organization will have 5 to around 7. At the bottom level, span of control can go as high as 30. Say, for example, 30 workers reporting to a single foreman, or 30 soldiers reporting to a second lieutenant or lieutenant. Whereas at the top level, span of control will be 5 to 7. Like this is general, that is the norm. Because why you can go for 30 at the bottom most level of the organization is because that the foreman is basically handling some specialist function. Is handling only, like for example, handling all the workers who are lathe operators is very easy. Even if they are 30, a supervisor can easily manage. Whereas if you, as you raise up, as you go up in the organization structure, no, what you find is that, for example, a president or CEO of the company, he has to supervise the work of subordinates who come from different backgrounds. And that CEO should be a specialist, should be jack of all. Like that means you should evaluate the working of marketing vice president, then how the vice president production is handling, how vice president finance is handling, how vice president HR is working, how vice president uh, R&D is working. Like if you take Infosys, so at the top level, who is the current chairman, CEO of Infosys? The fellow who was called to send Delhi to bang him. What is his name? Sabarwal. Or some, you're not aware? So anyway, um, so there at the top level, like he has only functional heads. So he cannot have large span of control. But anyway, there is there is nothing like, and for every general recommendation there are exceptions. Like for example, if you take a Roman Catholic Church Pope, Pope has a span of control of almost, he has immediately around 750 bishops directly reporting to him. So where is 5 or 7 figure and where is 750? This is because managing religious organizations are a bit simpler, and it also depends on how well motivated and how much autonomy you have given. Like for example, Pope, he does not ask weekly reports or monthly reports from his subordinates, that is bishops, cardinals or bishops. He may review the things once in say half a year or 1 year. They're working, so he could afford to bring a very large span of control because Roman Catholic Church is one of the most oldest organization which is still surviving. See, it is the one of the, it is surviving for the last 2000 years almost. So, and here why Pope could afford to have such a large span of control is because the, with respect to religion, I think there are not so many changes or dynamics as you see in a business organization. See, if you take a business organization like Intel, It is a kind of almost they have to work on their toes because they don't know when AMD will come with a new processor. Then suddenly there is a new segment of chips coming exclusively for mobiles. See, Intel was initially concentrating only on chips for laptops and desktops and then servers. But now Intel is at a loss when there is a lot of huge demand for chips, not only from mobile but automobile sector. And now recently Intel has become second in the chip market. See, that kind of competition is not there for Pope. See, fortunately, they have only one product, that is how to market uh, their God. And God, most of the organizations are like in religious, the gods doesn't change, you know, like they don't. Whereas, whereas the products for any business, I mean, they keep on changing, right? So that's why span of control, with respect to span of control, Pope has the that kind of luxury. What is the beauty of this large span of control is it will, the more the span of control, the less the number of levels in the organization. Like if you take a, another big organization, like let us say General Motors. General Motors, once upon a time, there was a joke on General Motors. People used to say that what is good for General Motors is good for America. Because once upon a time, General Motors has around 45 plants, production plants within US itself. It is such a huge organization. Its annual sales is equivalent to India's GDP, more than India's GDP once upon a time. So, if you take General Motors, they have the number of levels in the General Motors is around 15 or 16, right from president to workers. Sometimes the workers they never see their CEO in their lifetime. No matter, see, every 4 or 5 years, CEOs change, but still, irrespective of life, CEO, they don't see their CEO in their lifetime to the in their plant. And CEOs rarely visit every plant, right? Because most of them are involved in strategy and formation and then how to outsmart the Ford or Chrysler or Mercedes Benz. But you know, when it comes to Roman Catholic Church, they have very less competition, you know, and the product doesn't change. So they have they could have that luxury of
No
750.
need
So
of
when you have
innovation.
750 span of control, you can have less number of levels. Say, whereas GM has 14 levels, maybe Roman Catholic Church may have hardly have 5 or 6. Maybe starting from church fathers to local church father to ultimately Pope. Because the more the number of levels in the organization, the communication, ease of communication becomes tougher. So that's why over a period of time, GM has lost most of its market because it is not able to manage its size itself. Right? So that is what, so span of control. See, normally what are the factors which decide the span of control is number one point is the level. Number two point is how much decentralization you are giving to the subordinate, how much autonomy you are giving. Like for example, here Pope has given, he has given a lot of autonomy to the bishops, local bishops. With regard, he will not ask like how much money you have collected, how much money you have spent. That kind of routine stuff he doesn't care, right? So he's only interested in saying like whether the number of people who have taken their faith is increasing or decreasing. What are the factors that works for them, right? So whereas like so, how much autonomy? The more the autonomy you are giving, you can have, and then similarly, like the if you take complexity of the functioning of the enterprise. See, for example, like if you take NIT Warangal, like the director has a span of control of 14, almost, I think, because you have eight, not 14, more than that. Like you have eight engineering departments, then three maths and science departments, and one humanities. So, and then we have all the deans, and we have the chief warden, we have registrar. So maybe his span of control is 16, maybe 17. Our NIT director. Why? Because see, like NIT Warangal, in a way, it is a see again its products doesn't change as vigorously as a Intel or some other electronics firm. See, we have like maybe here every 3 or 4 years we review our syllabus and then we introduce new courses, new MTech programs, right? So most of the time the students come to us automatically. We need not market so much. So relatively, it is a stable kind of. NIT Warangal has a stable environment. It is not as tough as electronics firm like Sony or Apple or where the where there the product life cycle is just 18 months. Every 18 months, thanks to or curse the Moore's law of computing, every 18 months they have to inevitably come with a new product. So naturally, the span of control is will be automatically less, right? So the factors which decide span of control is the kind of environment in which they function, the kind of people, like the capacity of the supervisor, the capacity of the subordinates, the amount of autonomy that you give to these subordinates, whether the subordinates need closer supervision or occasional supervision. So all these factors come and decide the span of control of a organization. So here what we do is uh, so uh, that is the issue. Anyway, in the next class we will take up the other four factors which you take into consideration to design a organ structure.
Thank you, sir.
Any doubts?
Sir,
So
grouping based on time example is what, sir?
huh?
I forgot. Grouping based on time.
Uh-huh.
Grouping people based on time.
Yeah, that is like
Example you use.
I told you about chemical plants, particularly those companies which work 24 by 7.
Okay, sir, understood. I
You
forgot
got,
that.
huh?
Okay. Understood, sir. I forgot that.
Okay. Yeah.